don't need nothing pretty here. 1 or 2 chops ought to do it. So I bet you've never seen a Basque like this before. This is a little Frankenstein axe that I made up. This is the Basque 1.25 kilogram on basically a 24-inch handle. But because they're normally slip fit, and as you can see, mine came loose the very first day out. Not a big fan of slip fits. That's a topic for another time. So I traditional wedged it, 2 barrel wedges, and then I put a goatskin collar on it, nice and thin, very little transition, but still it gives me some protection when I'm limbing. And then this ugly thing. So because they're slip fit, they don't normally have swells on them, but I laminated a couple of purple heartwood slabs on the side. And I was gonna leave it like that, but it still didn't feel quite right. So I wanted to fill it in this way, and also up here. And I just used automotive Bondo for that. Give it a try if you've never used it. You can basically shape it like plaster, and it holds up quite well. Now I could paint this, make it pretty, but I kind of like it like this. Let's see what the old axe can do here on some of this dry stuff. That's what we're dealing with there. Real thin profile, nice wide blade. Short handle for these crowded positions, and also for packing. So if I was gonna take the axe, it would be this one right here.
And what I'm referring to here is a single pack axe for bushcraft or wild camping, or even a survival axe, if you will.
This could be a little dangerous with the gloves on, but if you find yourself in this situation, you want to keep your hands warm.
Now this is actually quite dangerous, limbing like this, but I am conscious of swinging away from my body and keeping my leg out of the way. But if I were going to process firewood with this axe only, I would definitely want a longer handle.
Okay, that's the reality of it. So. The other reason I really like these short handles is because it's easy to use it one-handed to do a task like this. I know it probably seems silly to be on your knees, but with the handle this short, when you're splitting like this, it just makes sense because you're less likely to cut yourself, but also you're closer to the wood that you need to grab. Sorted. Got scared for a minute there. I thought it went out. I would just rather have this length so that I can do some real chopping when I want to. And as you can see, I can easily still use this with one hand to do whatever they call it, finer tasks. Carpentry work is essentially what you're doing when you're building. Primitive carpentry work. And I've used tools all my life, so I can use it one-handed. I really like to keep the Basques wicked sharp. This one is stone sharpened. I think you can hear just how sharp that is. She will definitely shave hairs easily. And this is especially good for dried wood. A really good, perhaps the best, so-called bushcraft axe you could ask for. That's what I really wanted this swell for. When you swing, when you're limbing, it just gives you something else to hold on to. And on these small axes, I really like to hold the axe way down here. I'm actually going to do a little more shaping here and almost round this over a little more. I like to bring a rasp with me in the field so I can shape while I'm chopping. That way you know where the hot spots are at. course, I didn't bring one today because I came in lightweight, but I know what I need to do there. Check out this branch. Japanese honeysuckle twirled up it, consequently constricting this branch, and it grew in a spiral pattern. Pretty cool. I think I'm gonna keep this and, I don't know, use it for a walking stick or something. Just keep it around, probably. Keep it around camp. Now here's where this collar is gonna be nice, because you see how this sheared started to split the wood? Well, that'll work. But if I needed to actually come in there and hit it again, I'd have to bury this deep. That's where the collar, this little collar, that's all I wanted to do, really. If I overmiss a lot, the goat skin ain't gonna cut it, but hopefully my skills are good enough. What do you think? Legs to a bench? Could be. These crotches are strong, but not as strong as you think. Also, I'll probably never get around to it, but I'm gonna stick it over there. So I haven't forgotten, guys. I am gonna try friction fire sometime this year, probably in the fall, to be honest. But this looks like a good hearth board, doesn't it? I'm gonna save it for testing, perhaps. Joe's playing.
While I do find this axe usable at 24 inches in length, I wouldn't want anything shorter than that. So the small forest axe at 20 inches is a no-go for me because the handle's too short, and quite frankly, the blade length is ridiculously small for carpentry work, which is what bushcrafting mostly is. Of course, you got to process firewood, and this allows you to do that. Season firewood as well with the thin blade. And I'm sure some of you think that the slit fit actually has an advantage as a pack axe, because I guess you could take the head off and like put it in your pack, but I just don't see the advantage. And I have not had luck with slit fits, period.
It's checked right here, so I think I could probably split this in half and get it a smackaroo right there. There you go. On to the next one. I find it's easy on this small stuff just to switch hands whenever I swing. That's that. And the most important thing about this axe is that it is now fixed and doesn't wobble. No movement at all in the eye, back or forth, front or back, and that is absolutely how I demand my axe to stay. And that's why I like these. I've never had a good slit fit hang. Now, I have never hung one myself, and I suspect that it can absolutely be done right, but if you get any shrinkage in the axe, you're gonna have problems probably even in a traditional hang, but you're definitely going to have to use some slivers and then beat your head back on. I don't have to do that. When this goes bad, I'll probably just change the handle because it'll be that long. They sometimes refer to these small Basque axes as pruning axes. They don't quite mean this, but I do have a crabapple tree down here by this my little Zen spot, I call it, where I hang out, occasionally meditate, and the apples are terrible, as all crab apples are. So I'm just curious if I can tame it any and make it produce more fruit, or I'm sorry, bigger fruit, rather than what it wants to do, which is produce a lot of fruit. I think I'm gonna get rid of this. I kind of like it. It almost looks bonsai-ish. I think I'm gonna leave that bit. Get rid of this one. Obviously, I want to avoid scarring the tree as much as I can.
Now, unfortunately, I still can't recommend these because there's been too many problems, but they are so good and bad at the same time, and that's why it's a shame.
I think the thing I love about the Basque axes the most, believe it or not, is their sheaths. I think these are the nicest production sheaths going. The leather is just so supple. It's not overly thick. Many of you will scream because it doesn't have a welt. I honestly don't care. I almost didn't put one in the sheath that I'm making right now, but it is of course proper, but it's just not needed. And it's just so easy to lash or to bind these down, and they're nice and tight. They don't wobble all around. I can't pull it off or expose the blade. And whoever does their leather work stamps it with a P. If you know, let me know in the doobly-doo below.